Welcome back. We are here at the 2024 coverage of the Run Rabbit Run, brought to you by Mountain Outpost on the live stream here. I'm joined by my friend Zoe Rome.
Great to be
How
here.
you doing,
Corinne.
Zoe?
Yeah, stoked to be back in the shed.
Yes, we are here in Steamboat. We have a bunch of exciting interviews coming this afternoon. And right now we are joined by two fantastic athletes, Rachel Lemcke and Kyle Pietari. Thanks for joining us, you two.
Glad to be here.
All right.
Thanks for having us.
Awesome.
So, Kyle, you've run this race at least twice before. In 2018 and 2019, you won in 2019 in a time of 19:14. What are your goals coming into this year's event?
Oh, we're going hard hitter out
Yeah.
the gun.
I'm glad you
No warm up. VO2 max effort right out of the gate.
Okay, first goal is see how my body holds up. I broke my ankle going almost 3 years ago now.
Okay.
And this will be my first 100 since.
Yeah.
And I'm excited for
Yay.
it to be Run Rabbit Run, my big, race coming
Mhm.
back from a really serious long-term injury.
Mhm.
And I've been building up to this for a while. So I don't know. I've won the race before. I don't have, I feel like I have anything to prove here. I just want to go have a good day and run the best I can, whatever my body can do, and be great if that ends up being a top finish. But, I don't feel attached to any outcome.
Yeah, I think for those who may not be super familiar with you, Kyle, I mean, you have a very, very deep history in this sport and a ton of amazing experiences and results. Western States, you've run it 5 times. You were 6th a couple times. I mean, you ran 15:56 there once. Leadville 4 times as well, placing as high as 2nd in 2016, correct?
And 2015.
And 2015. And that year was after getting 8th at Western. So you, before it was a cool thing to do, did the Western Leadville double, performed extremely well at both of those. So I noticed a little bit on just recent racing here. There was that gap, which sounds like it's explained by the injury. But you've been doing some early season 50Ks, it looks like. So tell us just a little bit about how training's been going.
Yeah. So it wasn't until really earlier this year that my ankle was finally holding up to some big training after more than 2 years since I broke it. And yeah, I did some early season 50Ks in Moab, Utah. It's like one of my favorite places outside of Colorado. And those were training races. They were okay. I wasn't trying to compete hard like I do at 100 milers.
Mm-hmm.
And it was good to ease myself back into racing and just being in the scene, in the sport. And since then, actually, my training came together pretty well. It was a grind. I kind of forgot how hard it is to train for these things and how much work and effort it takes.
Yeah.
And being hungry all the time. So it was really nice to taper the past 3 weeks. And I've been not running very much in these past 3 weeks. That's been nice. I'm looking forward to not running so much after this race. But first, I got to go cover 100 miles through the mountains.
Got to do a little bit of running between now and then, huh?
Right.
So, Rachel, you've also run this course before. You were 5th in 2022, and you dealt with some hypothermia. What did you learn, and how do you feel coming into this race with 2 more years of consistent training experience and a little more specific knowledge about the dynamics of this mountain course?
Yeah, I think something that helped was after the race, my husband and I actually moved to Colorado. So 2 years ago when I raced it, we were living in Virginia at the time, and I came out here for a few weeks before, which was nice, but you don't acclimate as quickly as people tell you do. And you learn a lot about like what weather is like at 10,000 feet versus, I don't know, like 500 feet. So getting caught at a rainstorm is a much different experience. So I'm much more like prepared with gear. And then also I remember this course just beat me up. Like Virginia had a lot of technical trails and long uphills, but it's different, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like the mountains out here are so different. And I remember doing my training runs out here 2 years ago, and like I called my husband like the middle of the run. Actually, I had like 5 miles left. I was like crying, and I was like, "This is too hard. Like I cannot do this." And my husband is not very empathetic. He's a great husband, not very empathetic. And he was like, "Well, you got to get back to the car, so you better keep moving." I'm like, "Great. Thanks, babe." But yeah, I think
love.
he is very good at tough love. But right, so like having that experience, like even before the race, of like, wow, these trails are much different, and just like going downhill for like 10 to 20 miles at a time, realistically. And so I think my body's a lot stronger and like able to handle that, and just knowing those type of things. So yeah, and what to wear.
Yeah. Question, I guess, kind of for both of you. Like, what interests you? What do you like about the 100-mile distance? Because you seem to both kind of gravitate toward that distance. So, what is
Yeah.
it about 100 miles?
Yeah, I guess I'll go first. I love the strategy. Like I don't necessarily, I just like truly love running. I guess like I think some people really love running and some people really love training. And don't get me wrong, I love training, but like I could go run and not race. So like the idea of getting to run all day long is like super fun for me. And then I also like the idea of just like planning everything out and having those spreadsheets and yeah, just like making a plan of like, oh, if this goes wrong, we have to do this. And like, here's your A, B, and C plan. So I think that's what I really love. Although yesterday when I was like finalizing all my spreadsheets, I'm pretty sure I was like, why do I tell people I love like the strategy? Because I don't know if I love that or not, but I mostly do. And like I said, I like just being able to go out there. And then I think my other answer is I had a lot of like performance anxiety when I was a swimmer. My background's like swimming and swam like through college. And in swimming, your events are like 2 to 5 minutes, like not 2 minutes, like yeah, very short or even shorter, right? If you're sprinting. And like, so it's not enough time. Like I'd get anxious behind the block. My heart rate's up. I'm having this like almost panic attack feeling. And then your race is over. Versus like 100 miles, I have time to maybe still have those anxious moments, but like you're not going to be anxious the entire time, right? Like your heart rate will definitely settle down eventually. You will calm, at least in my experience, you will calm down. So I think that's why I've gravitated towards like longer ones for sure.
If you like long days and spreadsheets, it seems like you've found the right sport.
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
What about you, Kyle?
I think the 100-mile distance is kind of right in a sweet spot. So the 100K and shorter, you can make some mistakes. You can mess up your nutrition. You can not be so good with your pacing. And by the time the mistake is really setting in and causing you difficulties, you're almost done with the race anyway. The 100-mile distance, you have to execute well. You have to be ready to be out there for a super long time and do all the things right: nutrition, pacing, gear, etc. But it's not too long. If you go longer than 100 miles, then you're like getting into sleep deprivation and like it's just too much. So it's about the upper end of what's reasonable. And I know it doesn't sound reasonable to everybody to run 100 miles, but
Kind of
that's how
depends
I
on what
feel
you
about it.
consider to
Totally
be
reasonable.
reasonable.
People, totally reasonable.
Yeah. Safe space for unreasonable people here. You're in good company.
Awesome.
What about this course in particular is so compelling to y'all? You guys are both repeat competitors. You like the 100-mile distance. There's some other hundreds out there. Why do you keep coming back to Run Rabbit?
Okay, I guess I'll go. I think for me, like I really like doing a race and doing it again, right? And like having that opportunity to Zoe and I were like actually talking offline of like, hey, like I can probably go like 10% better. Like there's so many things I can like figure out that I did wrong and try to troubleshoot there. So I don't know. I like to like find a race to like stick to until I feel like I gave it like my best day. So yeah, we'll see if I can call Run Rabbit in 2 shows or I might have to come back again.
I also like repeating races. My competitive racing life has focused on this race, Run Rabbit Run, Leadville, and Western States primarily. And I like doing them all multiple times. Run Rabbit Run, I'm here this year, and I'm probably going to be back in a future year for a lot of reasons. So the course itself is spectacular, especially this time of year, getting to see the Golden Aspens. That's maybe the coolest stretch of course of any ultra you could ever see anywhere. We're in there right in peak golden color at sunset. It's incredible. And the trails are not too technical here, but there's still a lot of up and down, and that really suits me well. I don't like super rocky, challenging, wet, muddy stuff. And this race is nice and dry, so
Unless it rains.
It's not going to rain.
There's like 1%
Knock on
chance.
wood.
I heard from Graham the weatherman. 1% chance.
But also, I really want to emphasize, this is a nonprofit charity race.
Yeah.
And it has prize money, and it attracts top competitors. All of those are super compelling reasons to come here. Also, Steamboat Springs is just a super cool town.
It is cool.
Yeah.
And it's just far enough away from where I live in Golden, Colorado, that I don't get out here that often. This is such a good reason to come to Steamboat. So I encourage everybody to think about doing this race. Again, nonprofit charity race, prize money, great competition. They support the community here in a really cool town and bring in people. There's a lot of good reasons to come do this race aside from the course being spectacular.
Yeah. And I think just adding on that too of like the nonprofit part where, running can be very selfish, right? Like we go do this all day. Like our friends are literally taking care of us. So like being able to give back to the community in that way and like bring that, like be part of this race, like in this town, like that is a big part of it too. So I like that you said that.
Yeah, we heard from the race directors that so many of the decisions over the years have been made because the athletes requested them. Like they asked, what do you want out of this? And that is how the Hares and the Tortoises developed and the prize money and everything else and decisions to do this and that. It was like very athlete driven, which yeah, I can totally appreciate. And I think that's another huge draw for sure. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
So do either of you have a mantra or like sort of a power statement that you plan on drawing on out there?
I'll go first. So 5 years ago when I won the race, I kind of blacked out basically from Olympian Hall until Mount Warner on the way
Gold.
back. That's like mile 60 to like 95 or so. All I remember is repeating in my head, how bad do you want it? How bad do you want it?
Wow.
And don't walk this hill, run this hill. That's about all I remember. So how bad do you want it? And run this hill.
Did it not work?
How bad do you want it and run this hill? We're going to start making, I'm going to start keeping track of all of these.
Yeah.
I might need to add those to my list, but I like really short and sweet ones. So like mine would probably just be like run, just run.
Just run.
Yeah.
Just run.
Now,
Pretty simple.
yeah, right. I like to carry like a few in my pocket and like I do like them to be very short and simple ones that I can just like put in like repeat. So I guess I have a few, but I guess some of them for me are like right here. I say that all the time because like in 100-mile distance, it's so easy to start like thinking about, just literally everything but what's right in front of you. So I think that like really grounds me and brings me back. Sometimes I just say mindset over and over again of like I said, just bringing it back to that moment and how I'm thinking. And then one that I also really like to hold on to is like, remember who you are. And that came from my husband and like his family. And it just kind of makes me think of like, okay, like I can do this. Like I can do this tough thing. I've done tough things before and things like that. So, but yeah, like to hold on to a few.
Awesome. We heard Kyle's goal. Do you want to share a goal? You don't have to. No pressure.
Yeah, I think my goals are always very like non-traditional going into a race. Everyone's always like time goal. And, I mentioned like spreadsheets. And although I make things for my crew to like kind of have loose ideas where I'll be at, I kind of do it and let go of it. For me, I just want to get the most out of myself on the day. And I think I've learned the more I get into this sport, like being at your best on one specific day isn't always like gonna happen, right? And that can look very different for the day. So yeah, I just want to have a good day and see what I can do. Yeah, and mostly just a celebration too. I've had a lot of like setbacks in the last like 6 months and really just like the last year or so, and just kind of want to celebrate like a healthy body and a healthy mind and just hold on to that while I'm out there.
Yeah, I'd love to hear a little bit more about how both of y'all trained to get here, right? Like Kyle overcoming injury, Rachel working through a tough year. Kyle, what has your build back from injury looked like?
Yeah, well, I would say over the past 2.5 years, it's been a lot of steadily run more and more each week until something breaks down in the body, then step back until that recovers, then try again, and then hit some boundary that my body has. And I kept doing that. And I was telling myself, do not give up. It doesn't matter how this next attempt goes. Try and try again. And eventually maybe your body will handle it. And this summer, it did. And I just did the same things I do. I keep it boring. I run laps around my block while I'm on kid duty. So I'm watching my kids. I'm on the treadmill early in the morning or at like 10 or 11 p.m. regularly. And then get out and run lots of hills outside as efficiently as I can to get the vert training. And same thing I've been doing for like a decade in this sport. And eventually I peaked at 100 miles in a week, and I overexerted myself a little bit to hit that arbitrary number. And not the first time I've done that. And but it was a huge confidence boost because I wasn't sure if my body would ever be able to do that again. And certainly was able to. And now I have the fitness under my belt, ready to go and use it tomorrow.
Heck yeah. What about you, Rachel?
Yeah. I love that answer for you. But yeah, I guess earlier this year, well, going even back further, I moved to altitude. It'll be 2 years this fall, and my body really did not like altitude. Like, it did not like living here. So I had to change a lot of just like my day to day, my routine, just different things. I always say that you can't get away with things out here, like things that I would get away with, just of not taking care of yourself, and not even like in like crazy ways, right? Just, you have to always make sure you're hydrated, and sometimes you have to eat things that you didn't think you would eat, and whatever like that. So I think that was one part of it. And then earlier this year, I got really sick with the virus, and really struggled with likely some long COVID. But yeah, so I took a lot of time off, biked a lot, really had to like just kind of take a pause on my fitness. I really didn't think I would be able to start. So I think that comes like where my goals come from too, of like, hey, I just want to celebrate this like healthy body. But yeah, around June and July, my body started to like be like, okay, we can do this again. Like, we're gonna run. We're not going to hike and have like a heart rate that's like 170. So that was cool. But yeah, it took a long time and a lot of patience. And so it's every time I see people that are like sick and they're like, I went to run, I'm like, I promise you should not do that. But yeah, so anyway, it took a while to get like back to like regular training, but I was able to get some good volume in, and just a lot of running. Yeah, just a lot of running in the trails. I live very close to the trails, so I'm pretty privileged where I get to do it every day, which is fun. So every day run is kind of like just an adventure for me. But yeah, I don't know if I answered your question.
Yeah. I think for both of you too, it probably shouldn't be understated the amount of, kind of like mental strength that having to have that patience through both your injury and other things is going to play into being able to, execute on race day from a mental standpoint. So even if you weren't physically training or it wasn't going the same way, there were gains being made and things happening there that I think
for sure. And honestly, a lot of it for me was like a good learning how to like pivot, right? And really like problem solve. And then also of like, hey, this isn't going perfect, and this isn't exactly how I envisioned it's gonna be, but like, we're still gonna get to that same spot that we want to be. So that was important to me too. And then also just like taking a step back and like making sure like, hey, I really do love running, but like finding things that I also love, finding things that I'm also good at, like pouring time into other places. And honestly, if I really like zoom out, it wasn't that long that I was like unwell, but it was still like a lot of months. And I mean, you guys are runners, you guys are both very talented. Like, anyone that's probably listening to this is a runner or enjoys it. Like, when your body cannot do the thing you want it to do, it's so hard. It's so frustrating. And it's like, you have zero control. So I think for me, it like was able to like practice, like focusing on what you can control. And yeah, that is a pretty good 100-mile skill. So
it is.
I'll remember that when I'm out there.
Totally. Yeah.
Yeah. And I totally agree. For me, a lot of it is like, if the training is boring and effective, then I'm not only getting physically fitter, but also mentally tougher.
Yeah.
So it doesn't have to be like big, exciting days on fun, beautiful trails. I like doing that, but most of the time it's just the daily grind. And yeah, I think that does help prep for race day.
Yeah. Unsexy training works.
So, Kyle, you're kind of famous for throwing up at finish lines. Or at least at the Western States finish line.
5 for 5, top 10 at Western States, puked on the track.
I mean, I remember seeing this, watching on our lovely live streams. Has that happened to you at Run Rabbit? Is that just a Western thing?
Oh, no, it's happened here.
So we need to be prepared.
So I have 2 finishes here, a 4th place and a 1st place. And then I DNF'd in 2021.
Okay.
Just a fluke shin thing flared up, and I didn't want to further injure myself. And I puked multiple times in all 3 of those events.
Okay.
I will say 2018, my race here, when I got 4th place, was the most epic puke fest of my life.
Oh, wow.
And
after, post race or during?
During and
oh, wow.
Well, post, I was so depleted, there wasn't much to come out. But anything that I tried to put in definitely immediately came back out.
Okay, so that leads me to, what is your nutrition strategy for the race this year?
We've got to get these expert tips from the guy known for vomiting.
Nutrition strategy. That's a great question. So, the rule of thumb in running is don't try anything new on race day. I figure I have nowhere to go but up. So I just bought like $200 worth of new gels that I've never used before in my life. I'm not even going to say what brand. Okay. And I'm going to try and ingest a ton of them. And
I like this. I like what I'm
we're just
hearing.
gonna
This
see how
is
it
good
goes,
stuff. Yeah.
'cause it couldn't possibly be worse than how things have gone for me
Okay.
here at this race before.
Just promise me you'll drink along with that. And
I'm going to drink a lot of
electrolytes.
water,
Yes,
and I'm going
electrolytes.
to try to swallow a lot of gels and a lot of electrolytes.
Okay.
I'm not really expecting it to stay down, but
Okay.
I'm going to try. And at the finish line,
amazing.
there's
Just throwing
no
stuff at the
chance.
wall to see what sticks. During the race?
It's just an experiment.
Yeah.
Sticks.
Yeah.
It's everything. I puke at the finish line in all my races. That I haven't finished 100 without puking in my past 1000s.
It's your signature.
Yeah.
It's just your signature.
I like it's kind of like a hard reset for the body afterwards.
Cold plunge.
Just exactly.
Yeah.
You do a cold plunge, you get your burger, you're good to go.
Rachel,
So
Rachel,
trying
what's
new
your
things on race day.
Okay, so
Yeah.
Kyle's trying all new things on race day. Rachel, what are you doing?
Same as him, obviously. He's like a pro. Like I should be taking notes.
I'm
Right?
pivoting now.
Yeah, I mean, I thought I had a plan, but I'm about to throw that out the window and go get some gel.
I can hook you up.
Yeah, I mean, honestly though, other than the whole like try something new, like just keep eating until you can't, right? Like I think for 100 you need to start on like the higher end, whatever that is for you, and then you're like it's okay if it dwindles. I typically use precision and then just like some scratch hydration. And I've honestly been trying to figure out my fueling for a while now, especially like at altitude. I've had some issues as well. But yeah, I don't know. I'm just kind of thinking about his plan on it. I can't really think of anything else.
If I'm remembering things correctly, there is pizza at Billy's Rabbit
There
Hole,
is
which
pizza.
I
Yes,
highly recommend.
there is pizza.
So yeah.
Yeah.
And you can take
That's
it to
not
go.
happening.
Take it to go. Just put it in your pack.
Yeah.
No, I think it may be a superpower is like I can run like very far off gels and not really need like I don't get too much palate fatigue where I'm like, oh, I can't eat this gel. It's more of like my stomach's like, hey, we're not eating this gel. Sometimes you just have to puke and rally though. So
Yeah.
I understand. But I definitely have a little bit more of a plan.
Awesome.
I mean, the year I won this race, I looked at my watch. I first puked at mile 37. That's
Okay.
pretty early in the race.
Oh, I
That
can
is
top
pretty
that.
early.
2 years ago, not that I'm trying to one up you or anything, but 2 years ago, I puked before Fish Creek the first time. So what is that? Like
Incredible.
That's impressive.
10.
That is early.
That's
Yeah.
impressive.
I
That's
know.
soon.
I know. Big deal.
Very
We
good.
must now ask
Also
every single
terrible.
person we interview.
Yeah.
when they
I did rally though. It did, but I was like, oh, this sucks.
Yeah.
It's so early. I think that's why we like 100s though, because like you can have so many things like go wrong and hit the
Mhm.
fan, but like you just got to keep moving, right?
I
Especially,
can fix this.
yeah.
I've got 20 hours to fix this.
I'll just take a break and eat another gel eventually.
Fix this. Yeah.
Or like put a band-aid
I would
on
like to know how to do that.
Band-aid.
Anybody?
Just keep adding gels and or pizza until it's better, I think, is my strategy.
It's a good life strategy, really.
Yes.
Okay.
In all things, yeah.
Yeah.
Just keep adding pizza.
Sodium testing. Just throwing it out there. That's a.
Yes.
I think
Yeah,
that.
okay.
I think that.
Yes.
You know.
Yeah, honestly,
Get a sodium
I-
concentration test, get
Yeah.
a pizza.
As
problem
much as
solved.
we've like joked, I really have like this year like really done a lot of things. Like I've done like the sweat test, the sweat rate test. I started like
Nice.
a dietitian, like all of these things because I've just been like actually ever since like not to be controversial, but the spring energy debacle, like that was my number one fueling source. And then I learned that I'm actually not eating that much. So I've really had to like retrain my gut.
yeah, it was a come to glycogen
Yeah.
Jesus
But
moment for a
placebo
lot of
effect.
us.
Me, I am very, very, it's placebo effect. Yeah.
Yeah.
It worked for me then.
Well, Kyle, your results would not really led people to think that you were having that many issues. So it's even that much more impressive
know,
that
you
you're
kinda
doing
gave
these
up your
things
secrets.
with
Yeah.
the nausea. and
Yeah. So do
GI
you guys have any
issues.
fueling advice for us by any chance?
Oh boy,
Just
that's a
keep
whole.
eating. Just keep adding pizza.
That's what I
Just
do.
I think just
Half of it
listen.
comes up, but half of
Mine's
it-
just
it
listen to your
stays out.
body.
Yeah.
If it does, yeah. Don't yeah. Mine is that 120 grams is great if you know how if you've trained that and you know how to do that. Otherwise, listen to your body and yeah, pay attention to taking care of yourself because those
The
signs are
body
also
says
important.
no more.
If the body says no more, then I
Sometimes
don't
you have
know.
to tell the
Kyle.
body, I'm so sorry. I know you're sick of this. We still have a long way to go.
Sip,
Totally.
sip, just
Yep.
sip, sip. Yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you
Respectfully.
both for joining us. We're super excited for your races. Can't wait to follow along. And yeah, do you want to shout out your crew real quick?
Yeah, I have so many great crew members. My husband, Logan, And then, oh my God, I don't want to forget anybody. So I have my best friend Chrissy and Jenny and her husband Danny, and then my friend Mary. You guys probably know her as like the Queen of Leadville. So I got lots of lots of great vibes. And then my friend Nick and Claire. So I have a full party. The only people that won't be here are my 2 dogs because Airbnbs and Steamboat with dogs are way too expensive. And my husband said that 2 dogs in the van for the 100 mile was too much. But so yeah, that's Daisy and Rosie.
Okay. Awesome. Kyle?
Yeah, I've got one crew member, my friend Eric Wright. Thanks for coming out, Eric.
You can borrow one of mine.
Well, and my teammate Claire Gallagher,
Yes.
well known in the ultra scene, very talented runner. Lucky to be her teammate. Shouting her out as well. She would have been here for the interview, but she's on her way up to Steamboat right now.
Yeah.
And Claire's got a crew, and we're gonna share a little bit.
Nice.
Awesome.
Are you splitting money evenly if you win? Because we heard that you don't have to do that. And Fred, the race director, told us that a lot of times the women are the ones that place higher, and therefore they should probably be making more money than the guys.
I didn't know that was
team.
a thing.
Didn't know either.
Apparently, you need to negotiate. It
Yeah.
doesn't have to be 50-50. So I'm just saying. So, but team competition, and you have a teammate?
Yeah, Brian Kulma.
Brian Fulmo.
Yes,
We're
I was
interviewing
like,
him.
I don't want to say yes.
Awesome.
Yeah, he's coming in later today. I think he's driving from Salt Lake today. So, but
stuff.
it was so great to sit with you and meet you, and I'm excited to hear about your race and hopefully you keep the gels down.
Yeah, same, Rachel. And I'll root for you on course, even if I'm puking. I'll like lift my head up and
Give me a high five,
Give you a
fist
high
bump,
five.
or just like acknowledge each other or something. Yeah, that sounds great.
Good stuff. All right.
Thanks,
Thank you both.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks.
thank you.
Have a great race.